In a second, still got to have public opinion, public input. Any other questions from the board of Sherry right at the moment? Seeing none. Sherry, thank you.
I don't have a question for Sherry. I've just gotten some emails that requested that their email be placed into the record.
Okay.
And, Joe, I think those are placed into the record automatically, aren't they, when they come in? Yep. Thank you.
Okay, this public hearing portion. Any member of the audience here today to address the item currently before us? Here to speak? Yes, sir.
I would like to.
Got you 3 minutes. Come on down. Name and address for the record again.
Here we are again, 2 weeks ago, and I understand what Sherry's saying. I've read all the complaints. You have more complaints during the day than you do in 2005 and 2006. You had more complaints during the day than you did at night. You passed the ordinance. The numbers didn't change. I know what they're saying. You have more complaints, but when you remove the duplicates, you remove the daytime stuff, you still get the same. The numbers didn't change from the last time I was here. This is a big one for me because although it's true that all these other counties do have restrictions, they are all on non-navigable waterways that are not under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Coast Guard. The Coast Guard does not allow for discrimination. They only distinguish vessels by length and draft. I was in contact with lieutenant commanders in both Miami and Jacksonville. They absolutely told me that Lake Tahoe, West Lake Tahoe, is a navigable waterways, and if this ordinance is passed, the way they explained it to me was that they had no set. In other words, you couldn't say there'll be no Boston whalers going through Lake Tahoe between 11 and 5. They asked that the ordinances that were in place, such as the 90 dB at 50, as long as you follow their lighting instructions, their navigation instructions, it's all defined in what's called CFR 33. And under no circumstances does the U.S. Coast Guard allow discrimination of vessels. So licensed merchant mariners can and will use navigable waterways under the Coast Guard jurisdiction. And I'm personally willing to, I feel confident that I can win that in a lawsuit. And I believe that you have a lot of taxpayers that are not on the lake and don't care about alligator hunters, but they might care, as the woman who was here earlier, about spending money, for things that may not be a good thing to spend money. I believe that that's something you might consider before moving on this ordinance change. It's something that I haven't heard in any of this. And
did consider it, and just freeze there for a second. Sherry, we've already talked to the Coast Guard, and what was it you told me?
The last time that when we adopted this ordinance originally, the ordinance that this ordinance is amending, we made sure that we were able to put this restriction into place regarding airboats. And we did check to see with the Coast Guard whether either East or West Lake were navigable, and they are not. And we are we're allowed to adopt this ordinance before, and this ordinance is what we're trying to do here today is less restrictive than what we did in 2007.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll double check with that because
double check.
I've got Miami, the lieutenant commander is telling me that it's absolutely under their jurisdiction. They say they have a boat there. They have a boat in that section. So we'll look into that. Okay, thanks.
Next person.
Name's Mike Gifford, 1050 Shauna Lane, Kissimmee, Florida. I think the number one issue here that everybody's missing, including the chairman and the board, Mr. Quinzones, you brought an interesting point up. Your point was you can do it out of a boat. Okay. The issue here seems to be that everybody seems to think you're taking gator hunt away. And that's not true. We don't think that. What we think is that you guys are kind of just stepping out of bounds here and just trying to shut everything down. I mean, it's already set in your mind. I mean, honestly, it's set in your mind. You guys are going to shut it down, and that's the way it is. But I think before you do that, you ought to listen to just regular citizens that voted for some of you people up on that panel. We're voting citizens too. And I don't think you're listening to us. And there is more of us than there is complainers. And airboat industry gives more resources than some of these complainers do. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and read this again, another letter here that I wrote. And I want you guys to really listen to it because it's got a lot of heart and soul in it. And this is what I believe in. And it's really getting me aggravated with this situation. Because until you gentlemen get out there at night and you have to deal with the hydrilla, the floating tussocks, to go out there and try to complete this mission that the state has given us opportunity to be involved in the gator harvest program. You know, we're going out there and we're wanting to do it. We're wanting to help your neighborhoods and dogs, cats, etc. You know, but we're going out there and we're trying to deal with this with kicker boats because I've tried. I've done it. But let me tell you something. If you get out there and you try to do it at night, it's hard. And if you're watching a trapper's idea of gator trapping versus a regular gator hunter that does it for, you know, the other resources, first of all, he's allowed to use a hook and line. We're not allowed. He can set that bait and leave and come back at any time and get that gator. We can't do that. Everything we do is manual, okay? So when they show you that they're in a boat and they're in nice clean water and everything is easy, it's not easy. And I challenge you to ride with one of these airboaters out there and just see what kind of job we really do. But let me get to this. I'll be out of time before you know it. Commissioners-elect, first I oppose of any more airboat restrictions or curfews. No more. We as voting citizens need to be recognized as voting people too. We are taxpayers. We should have a voice in this matter. Airboaters have worked hand in hand with conservation political groups to keep our heritage and traditions. Enough is enough. We have done and are doing more than our part. We as airboaters and conservationists should have the same right as our well-known complainers. If the issue is noise, let's deal with noise. Airboats now have mufflers and quieter props to help with some of the noise complaints. We recognize we still have a lot of work to do, but nothing can happen overnight. We're asking the Commission to please work with us in without taking our heritage and traditions away, piece by piece. I personally have paid over $1,000 to quiet my boat to meet the 90 decibel restriction, which residents and commissioners now say is not enough. I guess I've wasted my money to save my heritage and traditions. Because it's apparent the Commission plans to take it away piece by piece. I would also like to point out law enforcement patrols. This is very important here. I want you to listen to this. Law enforcement patrols Lake Toho and other lakes in the county, which consequently has sparked some noise issues as well. Sheriff's deputies told newspaper writers, quote, some noise complaints could in fact be sheriff's boats. This is hardly believable when one of our chronic complainers bashed commissioners and sheriff's departments, quote, that there's no one out there to patrol them and the airboaters know this, unquote. I personally can vouch for law enforcement. They were out there and they're doing their job thoroughly. Sheriff's deputies were working both by water and by land during the state alligator management program, which starts August 15th to November 1st. Deputies also stated the reason for the airboat transportation was the waterways were congested with large amounts of vegetation, which makes patrolling the waterways at night near to impossible. Sheriff's deputies also informed myself and newspaper writer that they had been using a machine to calibrate the amount of decibels my boat and other boats were reading. And to your amazement, no tickets were issued in this matter. We were told the boat I was running was well below the 90 decibel restriction, so we continued on. As we all may know, Hidden Harbor has a problem which everyone's overlooking, and I really need your attention here. Why are airboats drawn to this area? Here comes the reason. Hidden Harbor Cove is filled with dense cover, which attracts lots of big gators. Our local tour boat tours use this area as an educational tour for our well-needed tourists. Also, many of our alligator management participants use this area for filling the 240 alligator tags the state biologists believed to be removed. If this area becomes off limits or stiffer hours of hunting, the alligator complaints will skyrocket. I personally know firsthand what this area is capable of producing. I would like to tell residents and commission that 25 gators over 12 foot have been harvested from this area. 5 gators over 13 foot. If we stop doing what we do best, residents may find one of these giants in their kitchen floor or swimming pool. Point, Let's work on the noise, but let's not take away the heritage and tradition of our forefathers. Yes, our forefathers, the men and women who built this town. Thank you.
For some reason, I think I have seen you before and stood in your front yard several years ago. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
I thought I did. How's it going? Took care of the problem?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you, and then I'm going to kind of see where we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Captain Dave Mark